Joining us now is Erika Donalds. She's a finance professional with a passion for education. She's offered her expertise in business and finance to help further the expansion of school choice options and to improve accountability and governance in Florida's public schools. She got a great op-ed coming out today. Closing schools disproportionately harms female business owners and entrepreneurs. And she's with us now, Erika Donalds. Erika, welcome.
Hi, God. Thanks so much for having me.
Erika, I love your op-ed because often we talk about race here on our show and what affects what group and what the other group. But I love your op-ed because you're saying, look, we have set records in this country under the Trump administration of female entrepreneurs. New businesses by females set records. In fact, before COVID-19 hit, African-American females opening businesses broke every known record we've ever had. It was a stunning number. All the female businesses that opened, 62% of them were by black women. Now what you're saying is having schools closed is disproportionately hurting women who have opened businesses and are entrepreneurs. Give us the math.
Well, John, as a mom myself and an entrepreneur who started a couple of businesses, actually new businesses since the Trump administration has started, along with all of those records that you just talked about, I have 3 school-age children. Half of my employees are moms like myself with school-age children. We've had these children at home since March, and we've been the ones to facilitate their schooling, to oversee what they're doing, which, of course, as moms, that's our priority, our families and taking care of them. But it does sacrifice our productivity as workers in our professions in a disproportionate way. You know, I'm happy for my husband. He's able to go off and go to his office. He's been doing that the entire time safely. But it does leave me here, and my other colleagues are in the same situation where our productivity continues to be hindered. And what's sad is, while we now have an opportunity for children to return to school and for women that are teachers to return to work, we have teachers' unions who want to block everyone from having that choice. And that's why I put the op-ed in, because the teachers' unions are the ones who are fighting against us women, getting back to our lives and getting back to our productivity.
What do you think the reaction is going to be? Because the teachers' unions are so powerful. And now what's happening in state after state is municipalities that want them to open, they're suing them, saying they're putting their lives at risk. I mean, they're not essential. Like Walmart employees aren't suing Walmart. Hospital employees aren't suing hospitals. Car wash attendees, which is an essential business, they're not suing the car wash. Yet teachers are going to sue the governments because they say, if you put us back to work, we could die. How does that fit into all this?
Well, those of us who own and run businesses across this country have been doing everything we possibly can to reopen, to open our businesses, to work, to serve customers. We're scrambling to meet the needs and the demands that our clients and other stakeholders have. But on the other hand, we see the teachers' unions trying to make excuses, trying to find ways not to reopen, trying to find ways to make the case they are not essential workers. We all want to be essential, those of us in the private sector, so we can open and live our lives and make money, really, right? And keep the economy going. And they want to find reasons not to. I'm here in Florida, where, just like you said, the governor and the commissioner of education put out an order that schools were to reopen brick and mortar as an option for every family. And the teachers union has sued the state of Florida to block that from happening.
What will happen with that?
Well, right now, what we're seeing is an uprising of parents. Parents are demanding that their school districts open. We saw many school districts following the guidance of the State Department of Education and opening on August 31st, which was the deadline put forth in the executive order, despite the teachers union's lawsuit and the fact that a judge did side with the teachers union so far to block the forced reopening. But since parents are demanding that schools reopen, and actually the majority of teachers are willing to go back to work and wanting to go back to work in person, school districts have been able to open and give families the option to send their children in person or continue with distance learning. There are a couple school districts like Miami-Dade that are all online right now while they're still in a phase of COVID. But everyone is really looking for a way to get reopened except for the unions. And notice I say unions and not teachers, because the AFT even did a survey of their teachers nationwide where 76% said they were willing to go back to the classroom with appropriate precautions.
Where are the unions going with this?
Well, we've seen the unions make ridiculous and completely unrelated demands in order to come back to work. They want the end of school choice programs. They want more funding unrelated to COVID precautions. So they are trying to advance their agenda in this crisis, not worried necessarily about safety, but blocking competition. Some states have not allowed online charter schools or online private schools to operate, which is insane, at the behest of their teachers union or other liberal politicians. So what they're doing is trying to use this chaos and this crisis that they themselves have been a part in creating in order to advance their agenda against school choice, against parental involvement in education, and against the reforms that many of us school choice and education reformers have been pushing for a long time.
You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network. We're with Erika Donalds from Florida. She's a finance professional and very big in education. She's got a new op-ed out that hit today. Closing schools disproportionately harms female business owners and entrepreneurs, which has been the biggest gain in the Trump administration by new businesses that we had is with women, and specifically with black women. 62% all female businesses opened in the Trump administration has been by black women. Is there going to be a backlash here? I mean, parents want the option to send their kids to school. You cited the American Teachers Federation, ATF, their survey. Over 70% of teachers want to go back in the classroom. Obviously, 30% or 28% don't, but the majority do, over two-thirds. Is there going to be a backlash here? A parental backlash?
So.
Will it be kids going to Catholic school, homeschooling? I mean, I'm not involved in it because we decided early on to send our youngest one to Catholic school. Now he's in a Christian school. He goes back on Tuesday, full classroom learning. But here's an interesting thing, and then I'll get back to this question. So my 16-year-old's an incoming sophomore. Our other two older kids went to public school. They're out and on their own. He's the youngest. So he's at a Christian school in Virginia Beach, Virginia, at Chesapeake, actually. And so they're going back to school, right? All the classes, everything on the 8th. They delayed it until the 8th. That's this coming Tuesday. But 30% of the students in his high school, the same Christian school, their parents and the students opted to do online, like they don't want to go there. So the 30% seems to be consistent. 30% of teachers don't want to teach in school. 30% of the parents and students, even in a Christian school, don't want to send their kids there out of fear of COVID-19. But 70% do. So I get back to, what is the problem with the hybrid model? You want, like we have, you want to go to class, you go to class. You want to go online, you can do that. You still have to pay for it. You can do that. What is the problem with giving the option?
Well, it's the same problem that we have with teachers unions, not wanting some teachers to be able to work longer hours and get paid for that, teach harder classes and be compensated for that. They want everyone to be treated the same because they don't want there to be a teacher that is elevated because of their extra work or their extra effort or their extra talent. But we in the private sector are used to that being the case, and we've been seeking that in our education system would do wonders. What I see, though, happening is parents now, think of the thousands of parents that have been, for the first time, given a choice, even if it is just a choice between online learning and in-person learning. In many districts in Florida, that's the choice they were given, but they have never been given a choice about their children's education. It's always been based on their zip code. So what happens next year when maybe they go to see where is their child going to go to school? They're going to have that thought. Do I have a choice this year? Do I have a choice of online learning? And this is going to change the dynamic in parents' minds that they should have a choice of where their child goes to school. I'm excited about this dynamic that has been created by the pandemic, where parents should feel empowered that they have some options of the type of learning their child is receiving, where their child is going to go to school, what's the best format, is it online, is it in person, and is the school serving their interests and their needs, or are they more concerned about their agenda and the teachers' union's demands?
Erika Donald's with us from Florida. Great points. I really haven't considered that. So basically what you're saying is, there's a consequence to actions, and could be a positive consequence for a negative if you can find it. And so what's happening here with the school being shut down and the teachers unions exerting their muscle and threatening strikes and lawsuits is parents are saying, wait a minute, I'm paying all this money in taxes. My kids aren't even getting that good of an education. They're putting all kinds of crap in the curriculum that I'm not paying attention to. In fact, we've had several school districts it's been leaked out where they said they don't want the parents to spy on what they're being taught online on the Zoom classes because they don't want to expose themselves to the nonsense that some of these teachers are teaching, the politically correct stuff. So we've heard that. So maybe there's an awakening here. Maybe the reaction to this is a lot of parents just that were not really paying attention are like, wait a minute, why am I sending my child to this public school? They're not getting a good education. They're being taught things I didn't have any idea they were being taught. It's not our value system. Half of it isn't even true. There's all this political correctness. You can only speak out if you're a communist, Marxist. You certainly can't go to school and speak out in a different way. You get censored or shamed. Maybe there is going to be a backlash.
Anecdotally, John, that's what I've been hearing from parents in my community. They saw, to your point, the curriculum back in the spring when everything went online, and many of them were very disappointed in the quality of the curriculum, in the rigor of the curriculum, and the private schools in my community are busting at the seams this year. They are overflowing. They can't hire teachers fast enough, getting students in the door fast enough, because many of those parents, seeing what they saw in the spring, decided to go and move to private school. Also, with the constant delay of opening that was happening with the public schools, parents said, I can't afford to do this any longer. I got to get back to work. What private school is opening? And many of them opened far earlier than the public schools, and they send their children to private school because they don't want to take the risk that the public schools is going to delay again, because the teachers unions were out protesting with these ridiculous signs and coffins and whatnot, making this chaos even worse, when those same people are going to Publix and getting their groceries with those poor cashiers that have been there the whole time. They're going to the restaurants that are open and being served with those essential workers, but they will refuse to go into the classrooms and make sure that our children do not fall behind and they get the education that they deserve in this time of crisis.
Erika, the hypocrisy is something else, isn't it? I mean, the
It
teachers
absolutely is. It's very frustrating.
Teachers that are claiming that they're going to die if they teach class are doing other things, which puts them in the same situation, but it's to their benefit. So, look, I'm not, I know a lot of teachers. My son is a teacher in Mississippi. He's very passionate about this. I got to be honest with you, the other day I was asking him about online, and he's in the Delta. They're 100% online in September. And he's like, look, Dad, this is tougher than just going to teach. He says, I'm working 18 hours a day. Half the kids don't even have high-speed internet. I call on them. They're not there. They log in, and then they're gone, playing a game. I call on them. There's no response. He said it's very frustrating, but, it is what it is. We're with Erika Donalds, but the hypocrisy, Erika, is something else. It's almost comical. Erika, also, just a disclaimer here, she's currently a founding member of the board of Treasure Coast Classical Academy, a Hillsdale College public charter school in Martin County. How has this affected your own company?
Well, I actually now manage 2 charter schools, and we're opening one next year. We did have to open a brand new school this year, Jacksonville Classical Academy, in the midst of COVID, and in our second year with Treasure Coast Classical Academy in Stuart, Florida. Both of our schools are offering both online learning and in-person learning. We started with about that 30% that you just referred to. 30% chose online, 70% in person. We, of course, took every precaution with our teachers and even opened it up to them. What is it going to take so you feel safe Do you need plexiglass? Do you need a face shield? What do you need? We will get it for you because we want to make sure you feel safe in your classroom. And for those that wanted to do online learning because they wanted they may have a special situation, we try to accommodate that. But what we have seen over the past several weeks where we've been open, and we did open on time, is that many parents have seen what we're doing in the classroom, what we're doing in the school with the appropriate precautions, and they're sending their children from distance learning into the classroom. Every single week, we're getting those kids going from distance learning to the classroom as people get more comfortable with our procedures and the safety precautions that we're making. It's very difficult for schools to operate two different school formats, online and in person, especially new schools like ours. But we do whatever we have to do. We're a school of choice. And we know that these parents are choosing our school because we are meeting their children's needs academically. And so every day we are striving to do that with excellence and make sure that these children get the education that they deserve out of our school. We know how valuable it is that parents are choosing us to care for their children. And every day we work very hard to make sure the children are safe, but that they are most importantly also getting the best education possible.
Interesting, Erika, what you just said. So your school started with the same percentage, 30% of your students that are paying for it, it's a charter school, 30% of their parents decided to do online learning, but as they became aware of the safety precautions that your school had taken, that number dropped, and they started transitioning from online to in-person. What's the percent now, off the top of your head?
It's probably around 20% at this point. 18 to 20% are still online. And some of them do have either a health issue themselves or someone in their household has a health issue. So they're taking extra precautions. And we're more than happy to accommodate that as long as these issues continue. And we're just doing everything we can to replicate the brick and mortar school online. That's been another big concern of parents, is that in the spring, we saw many districts not providing live instruction with the online program. They were, providing links to the parents and having the parents sort through these links and these apps and whatnot. Whereas we are actually having a live teacher, teaching the students and instructing them online and grading the homework. We're not having the parents do all of the work on behalf of the teacher. And I think that's another reason why our schools have been in so demand this year. People saw what high quality instruction we provided, even in the midst of the pandemic in the spring. And the comparison to districts which were not providing any live instruction in many cases is stark. And we saw that across the country between private schools, charter schools, versus traditional public schools, which have that monopoly where they were not giving that high quality live instruction. That's something that the state also demanded of districts, that they not just provide online learning in the form of links and assignments, but that they actually provide live instruction and replicate the brick and mortar experience.
Good job, Erika. I really enjoyed our conversation. I learned a lot. I want to thank you for your op-ed and for what you do. Erika Donalds, thank you, Erika. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.